Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name's if you don't know, now you know. Hi guys! I'm recording this directly after last week's episode, so if I look I changed my shirt, but if I look and sound the same, that's why. Anyways, how was your guys' week? What'd you do? Who'd you see? Did you eat good food? I did it right that time! I haven't been able to get that right in, weeks. Anyways, how was your week? So last week we talked about becoming teachable or maintaining your ability to be teachable. How'd you guys do this week with that? Did you find something that you wanted to learn more about? Did you allow somebody to teach you about it? Did you Google it? This past weekend, we did family pictures so my sister did her grad pictures. She graduates high school this year. We also did grad pictures for my brother because he graduated last year, but we just never ended up doing his grad pictures. And then we also did family pictures because the last time that we did full family photos, I think I was 14 or 15. I think 15. We did those this past weekend. So that was fun, I'm assuming. I haven't done them yet, but I'm going to assume that it was good. I don't know. We're just going to jump right into this week's episode because that's the weird thing about recording a couple episodes back to back is no time has passed. So I don't know how my week went because I'm still here. Before we say anything for this week's episode, I want to make it very, very clear. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian. Quite literally the only education, quote unquote, that I have on nutrition is from a couple presentations at skating conferences when I was younger from nutritionists and dietitians and 3 university credits. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt, pun intended. If you are seeking actual professional help or actual advice, this is not the place to get it. I will have resources linked down below on where you can find those because it's not here. What I wanted to talk about today was healing or how to, or the steps towards healing your relationship with food and nutrition and dieting, which is a heavy fucking episode. So if you're somebody who is struggling with eating disorders or any of the such, and you don't think this will be a good episode for you to listen to, click off now, because the last thing that I want to do with this is put anybody in a worse spot than they're already in. The only thing I want to do is give some information and hopefully maybe help somebody work towards, I don't know. Okay, so a super, super common thing that lives within the sports and the athletics and fitness industry is disordered eating and eating disorders. Obviously they exist within normal, outside of those industries as well, but they are something that are super heavily populated in the fitness and athletics and wellness industry. If you don't know the difference between those two things, so an eating disorder and disordered eating is based off of the intensity, the motivation, and the negative medical or psychosocial effects. So eating disorders are something that are clinically diagnosed by a GP or by a dietitian or by a psychologist. Disordered eating patterns are not. Disordered eating, so eating disorders, people with an eating disorder display disordered eating patterns, but not all disordered eaters have an eating disorder. And those are two very important things to understand the difference of. I think a lot of people like to self-diagnose eating disorders, which don't self-diagnose anything. Go to professionals, get actual diagnoses from people who went to school to help you. But yeah, a lot of people like to self-diagnose eating disorders, when in reality what they're experiencing is disordered eating patterns. That does not take away from the intensity or the severity of disordered eating patterns or disordered eaters, but they are two very different things and they need to be treated as such, and people need to understand that those are two very different things. So both of those are prominent things that exist in every aspect of life, but I think a lot of people would agree that their population and the reoccurrence of them is heavily linked to athletics culture and sports culture and fitness and wellness culture. So our relationship with food and with dieting and with nutrition is something that develops throughout our entire lives. It never really stops developing. And it starts when you're really, really young. So the way that adults or other kids, but especially adults, talk about food and diet and nutrition when we're younger can have such a huge impact on our continued relationship with food and nutrition and diets as we get older. So a lot of people that I've talked to will be having a conversation and they'll essentially say that they don't know where their disordered eating patterns came from. They don't know why they have an unhealthy relationship with food. They don't know what caused it, whatever. And so many times it links back to the way that food was treated, or the way that food was like either idolized or demonized in their childhood. And that's a really important part, but it's also something that makes it really difficult as you get older to heal your relationship with food, especially if you have a really negative relationship with food. A lot of that can come from how food was seen in your childhood, or how adults in your life, whether that doesn't have to be parents, that can be teachers or coaches or whoever, distant family members that you see once a year who comment on the way that you eat at Thanksgiving. All of those people can have such a huge impact on your relationship with food from a young age, and it makes it more difficult as you get older to heal that. These are some signs of an unhealthy relationship with food. Again, this is not a complete be-all list. This is not, like, I'm not saying that if you have one of these that you automatically have disordered eating. I'm also not saying that you could have all of these. These are just some generalized signs of unhealthy relationships with food or with nutrition. Guilt about eating, avoiding or restricting quote-unquote bad foods. We'll get into that in a second. Developing food rules surrounding what you can and cannot eat. So that can be like cutting out complete food groups or specific snacks, whatever it is. And yeah, developing food rules. Relying on calorie counters or apps to tell you when you're done eating for the day. We'll also get into that in a second. Ignoring or not understanding or not having hunger cues, like natural hunger cues. Yo-yo dieting. Stress or anxiety about eating in social settings or social situations, and then restricting or binging food. Back to the second one, avoiding or restricting quote-unquote bad foods. Let me just be very clear. There is no such thing as a bad food. It doesn't exist. The only thing that would be a bad food is something that's gone off or that's past its, best before date. Like, I'm not going to drink sour milk because that's a bad food, because it is expired. It is no longer healthy for me to put that in my body. A chocolate bar is not a bad food. Two very different things, and somewhere along the line, diet culture really fucked up all of our heads and encouraged us and allowed us to think of foods as good or bad. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. The hard part about a relationship with food, and especially like trying to heal a relationship with food, there is no one-size-fits-all solution to healing a relationship with nutrition, because every single person's experience is going to be different. Every single person's relationship is going to be different. You can have similarities to other people. I'm not saying that you can never relate to somebody else in this. I can't give you, or a doctor can't give you, or a book can't give you, like, here's the step-by-step solution to how to fix and heal your relationship with food for the rest of your life. That doesn't exist. And that's the unfortunate part, is it takes a lot of fucking work to do this, and a lot of times you have to do multiple different things, Obviously, attending therapy or meeting with a dietitian or a nutritionist is an incredible option, and that can be one of those things that truly helps you find the root cause of your disordered eating patterns or your unhealthy relationship. However, I also understand that that's not something that's accessible to a lot of people. Therapy is insanely expensive across the board. I know there is some places that it's a little bit more accessible, but for a good chunk of the world and a good chunk of the population, it is not something that's super accessible. It can be extremely expensive. It's hard to find a therapist, Same goes with nutritionists and dietitians. A lot of times they're not covered under insurance, or if they are, it's like, okay, we'll cover $50 for the entire year, but your initial visit with a dietitian is $260. Not financially accessible to a lot of people. So that's not like an end-all be-all answer. It is something that if that's accessible to you and that's something that, you have the resources for, do it. because it could be such a great option. And a lot of times speaking to a professional and having professional help with stuff like this is going to be a lot more productive and a lot more efficient than trying to do this by yourself. Learning that food is a necessary part of your body's survival is such a key part to understanding the importance of a healthy relationship with your nutrition. I think a lot of people, especially when people don't recognize that they have unhealthy eating habits or disordered eating habits, that can take a toll in and of itself when you think that how you eat and the way that you exist with food is normal when it's not. With that, I can sit here and tell you all day that, like, food is fuel and a car doesn't run without gas, and, you know, you wouldn't put rules around your dog's food. All of the things that people have been told for years and years and years about eating disorder, like, those are conversations that are typically held around people with eating disorders and in ED treatments. I can sit here and tell you those things all that I want. It's not going to make a difference. For most people, for majority of people, I would argue to say, that's not going to make a difference. Me sitting here and saying that, not going to make the difference. If somebody had told me that when I was struggling with really disordered eating patterns, wouldn't have made a fucking difference. I would have been like, yeah, okay, like, fuck you. Quite literally, fuck you. Get out of my face. So I'm not going to sit here and say those things. Yes, they all are in theory true. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make a difference. But there does come a point in your life and in your fitness journey, your health journey, wellness, whatever it is, where you have to make the decision to live for yourself rather than die for the comfort of others. Your unhealed or your negative relationship with food and with working out and with cardio and exercise and diet, nutrition, whatever it is, it's going to do nothing but speed up the process of your death, and that is the unfortunate truth. People with continued eating disorders or disordered eating patterns tend to have a lot shorter life expectancy than people who have food freedom and understand the important relationship between food and nutrition and living. And unfortunately, for the most part, that is something that you have to come to the realization of yourself. That's something that you have to decide for yourself. That's one of the hard things. That is one of, if not the hardest part, is coming to an understanding and learning that you can be uncomfortable with food, you can be uncomfortable with your life for as long as you want, but you are doing no benefit or harm to anybody but yourself. You know, like, you're not harming anybody but yourself. So there has to come a point where you decide and you make the educated, like, decision of, I no longer want to put myself in uncomfortable spots and allow somebody else or something else to have control over my life. One of the best places to start with this is to stop associating terms like good and bad with food. We talked about this a couple minutes ago, but there are no bad foods except for foods that are, like, moldy or curdled. Like, if milk is curdled, don't drink that. If cheese is covered in mold, don't eat that. If bread is moldy, don't eat that. Those are the bad foods. Those are the only time that a food is ever quote unquote bad, is when it is, like, dangerous or toxic for you to put in your body. There are foods that are much more nutrient dense than other foods, but that doesn't mean that you can never consume a food that's not nutrient dense. So, for example, my, like, day to day, you know, I have my breakfast, lunch, supper, and my snack that I eat religiously every single day. I eat very similar foods every single day because picky. So, like, for example, my chicken, rice, and veggie that I eat for lunch almost every day is a very nutrient dense meal. The chicken, very nutrient dense. You know, the veggie, very nutrient dense. Those are foods that are going to fuel my body long term. The ice cream cone that I eat every night before I go to bed because I want a treat, not necessarily the most nutrient dense. However, I still eat it every day because the important part of understanding the balance between nutrient dense and not as nutrient dense foods, just because I spend 80% of my time eating nutrient dense foods or, like, long-term beneficial foods, something that is going to fuel my body for the entire day, 80% of the time that's what I'm eating. The 20% of the time is the sweet treats that I want before bed. Or if I go to a ball game, you know, like I went to like 4 different ball games with friends throughout the week. And every single time I go to a ball game, you know I'm getting a little sweet treat. You know, like when Cam and I went to go watch a ball game, I had a freaking burger, and it was a fantastic, greasy ballpark burger. And then the next day, Casey bought me a Red Bull when we went to the game. You know, like I allow, like the foods that I eat for the majority of my time during the day, during the week, those are the foods that allow me to feel satisfied and fueled in my life. And they also give me the liberty of having whatever sweet treat I want before I go to bed. You know, that 20% is filled for foods that maybe they are nutrient dense. You know, maybe that night before I go to bed, I am craving like a yogurt bowl with granola. And if that's what I'm craving, that's what I'm going to eat. And I'd argue, rather nutrient dense meal or snack. And then the next night, I might crave my ice cream cone, and I'm going to eat the ice cream cone because that is what my 20% is for. Don't associate, like food is not something that should be associated with good or bad, because that is not, neither of those words are things that apply to food. Unless I'm sitting here and saying like, oh, the chicken that I cooked tasted really good, or it tasted bad. That's fine. But the food itself is not good or bad for you at all. Stop tracking calories, stop tracking macros. For a long time was a huge push to track all of your calories, you know, and people were being told that they needed to eat like 1,200 calories, which, keep in mind, are the daily recommended calories for a toddler, not a 20-year-old woman. Just keep that in mind. There was a big push that like everybody was tracking their calories, and then there was a big push to track your macros. Everybody switched from tracking calories to tracking macros. So your athletes, bodybuilders, weightlifters, people who worked out, whatever. Oh, I'm not tracking calories, I'm tracking macros. Which, okay, here's the thing. Like, I track my macros because I like having a generalized understanding, mainly just of the protein that I eat in a day. However, it took years of me not tracking any foods to get to a point where that was something that was okay in my life. Because here's the thing, oh my god, in health class and in like health studies a couple years later, there was like a week-long project in both of these classes. You had to download MyFitnessPal, which I can't even, and track your calories for a week. And that was like, you had to hand that in. That was something that you had to do in, I think I did it in like grade 7 maybe. So I was 12. And then again in grade 10, so I was like 15. Let me just say, don't fucking, if you're a student, or if you're a teacher, maybe let's not do that. Maybe let's not encourage already very impressionable kids to track their calories for a week, and then when their assignment is handed in, look at it and tell them that they clearly lied because there's no way that that's actually what they ate, or that that's how little they ate. Maybe let's not fucking do that. Anyways, it took years and years and years and years for me to get to a point where I no longer associated food with calories. Like, obviously, yes, I have an understanding of what a calorie is. The calorie is essentially like the energy that you get from that food. Again, there's a very big difference between the calories that come from a nutrient-dense and a nutrient-rich food, or like a nutrient-dense and a not as nutrient-dense food. Understanding that is so very important because, okay, for example, I can go to, I don't know, what's a snack I can eat? I can eat I can eat ice cream. I could eat my, like, let's just say, for example, my, like, baseline calorie, like, my maintenance calories for a day are, like, 1,850 calories. That's not what they are, but let's say that they are in this hypothetical situation. I could go and eat 1,850 calories worth of ice cream, and that is my maintenance calories for the day. I could also go eat 1,850 calories of nutrient-dense food, such as, my chicken and rice, or my taco salad that I eat for supper, or my hash brown scramble that I eat for breakfast. Foods that are more nutrient-dense. I guarantee you I am going to feel very different at the end of the day between those 1,850 calories consumed by ice cream and 1,850 calories consumed by nutrient-dense food. They are the same amount of food, quote unquote. It's the same amount of calories, the same, but until, like, I didn't allow myself to track my macros for the gym until I knew 100% that I had kind of healed my relationship with calorie tracking, and that I had a better understanding and a more educated understanding about what a calorie actually is and how that responds to your body and what your body does with the calories that you eat from one food compared to the next. My recommendation, if you are struggling with disordered eating patterns or you're trying to fix or heal your relationship with food, educate yourself about what different parts of each food does for you. Understand what the fat in a food does. Understand what the sugar does. Understand, the carbohydrates are sugar, but you know what I mean? Like, understand what the protein does in that food. But until you can confidently say that your food is no longer categorized in your brain as a number, don't track your macros. Because truthfully, that is I have seen so many people who don't track calories, but they track macros, and even that allows them to spiral into very obsessive and disordered eating patterns based on macros, Anyways, stop tracking calories, stop tracking macros altogether. Because a lot of times it can make it worse, You can dig yourself further into that hole of unhealthy association with food, and we don't want that. I've finally seen more people talking about this, but for a long time it was something that nobody really talked about. Okay, for example, I don't work out every single day in order to eat 3 meals a day. I'm not going to the gym to allow myself to eat my food for the day. I eat my 3+ meals a day. I eat my 3 meals and my snack and my treat, whatever else. I eat those every day so that I have the physical ability to work out and to run and jump and train and swim and bike and exist. Finally, after so long of people seeing it as the first one, people training so that they can eat, people are finally making the switch to understanding that, hey, I don't go for a run so that I can eat. I eat so that I can go for a run. And those are two very different things and very different mindsets. And understanding that you do not live your life, you do not exist as a person only to eat and only to think about food and only to think about your nutrition and what you're going to eat for your next meal and when you're going to eat and am I going to eat anything and whatever else. Don't do that. That is not your purpose as a person. That's not, you have so much more to exist as. You are allowed to exist as so much more than somebody who only exists in order to eat. You're allowed to eat your 3 meals a day. You are allowed to eat until you are no longer hungry. You're allowed to do whatever you want with food. You eat so that you can live your life. But yeah, that's a very important switch in terms of mindset that people should make and need to make to have a healthier relationship with their nutrition. With that comes intuitive eating. Now, intuitive eating, I'm not going to get into everything that is intuitive eating, but intuitive eating does not mean throwing away all precautions in terms of food and allowing yourself to binge or eat 8 bajillion calories every single day. And by 8 bajillion, I literally mean hey, maybe let's not consume 10,000 calories a day. Also not healthy for your body. Just like eating 1,000 calories a day isn't healthy for your body, neither is 10,000. There is a balance that we need to learn. Essentially, one of the big points of intuitive eating is repairing your body's ability to have and also to understand the hunger cues and respond according to them. There's a lot of people who, because of their lifelong unhealthy relationship with food or whatever it may be, don't have hunger cues. Some people don't ever feel hungry, or some people don't feel full or don't know what it feels like to feel full until they are absolutely stuffed and sick to their stomach. Your body has hunger cues. They're naturally, your body will tell you when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, when you're full, whatever else. And learning to allowing your body to rebuild those hunger cues and also learning to respond to them accordingly is really, really important. You don't have to finish all the food on your plate. If you're full, you're full. Set it aside, put it in a container. If you're hungry again, half hour from now, go heat it up and eat it. But there is no purpose of me stuffing my face and eating way too much food when I know that my body's not hungry. Same as if I'm sitting on the couch and it's like 2:30, I'm like, okay, I ate lunch like an hour and a half ago. I feel hungry right now. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go get a snack because my body's hungry for a fucking reason. Something that a lot of people have to relearn or just learn in general, like people were kind of taught away from intuitive eating. Do that shit, you know, research it, Google it, learn how to do it, learn how to help yourself eat intuitively, and listen to your hunger cues. Some days you're also going to feel more hungry than others, and that's okay. Your body is different every single day. Your body does not exist the same way. Your body does not function the same way every single day. Some days I'm a lot hungrier than others. Other days I'm not quite as hungry. Some days I get to the end of the day and I've eaten my 3 meals and my snack and I am just not hungry. You know, I'm not going to get up and I'm not going to go get my ice cream from the freezer because I don't want it. I'm not hungry. So why would I eat it? You know, why would I like make myself feel more full and uncomfortable before bed when I don't want it? Other days, I get to the end of the day, I've eaten my 3 meals, my snack, my ice cream, I've had some crackers, whatever else, and I'm still hungry. Okay, so I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna find something typically like protein dense, because I find that it, like, if I get to the end of the day and I haven't eaten as much protein as normal, then sometimes I feel a lot more hungry, you know? I'm gonna find something that fits into my like snack regimen that day, like something that I want to eat but it's not going to make me feel overfull, whatever. And then some days I have intense cravings but I don't know what for. You know, like some days I could be sitting on the couch and I'm like, man, I am craving something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I want sweet or salty or crunchy or rich, what, I have no idea. So most of the time, what I do, get up, drink a big-ass glass of water, because sometimes one of your body's hunger cues when you're dehydrated or when you're thirsty is like an intense craving, but for nothing. You know, like I'm not craving anything. No food sounds good, but I am craving something. Most of the time, it's water. So I'm going to go get up, drink a glass of water. If that fixes it, great. Like if I feel fulfilled after that, great. If not, okay, let's, you know, do some little internal work to figure out what exactly I'm wanting or what my body is missing that is making me feel as though I'm craving something random. Here's the gist of it. I don't really know how to like end this. You can't be on a diet forever. That's not how diets work. That's not how they were like designed. There's a big difference between a diet and a lifestyle. You know, like people who eat vegan, that's not really considered a diet. It's a lifestyle. It is a food lifestyle. People who are keto, that is a diet for the most part. You know, a lot of the times that is like a yo-yo diet. It's whatever. Can we tell that I have some opinions on keto? Long story short, you can't be on a diet forever. It's not how they work. It's not beneficial for you, and it's not good for your body to be dieting forever. You can, however, change your lifestyle and change your food lifestyle and your relationship with food to allow you flexibility and freedom with your food and with your nutrition while still accomplishing all your goals. People have this like understanding or this misconception that in order to make progress in the gym and in order to make progress in life in terms of their health and wellness and fitness, they have to be restrictive with their food. They have to be dieting. They have to like essentially, you have to be miserable if you want to make any progress, and that simply could not be further from the truth. And I think it's one of those things that so many people would benefit so greatly from understanding the difference between nutrition and dieting, because they are very different things. I plan out my meals for the week every single week. Earlier today, I sat down, I made an entire grocery list, and I planned what every single meal I'm going to eat this week, down to like what snacks I want for that day and whatever else. And people have told me that that's like a disorder, that's unhealthy, and that I shouldn't feel the need to like plan out. I don't do that because I'm like restrictive to what I'm eating. I do that because it allows me to circulate between meals that I know I enjoy and I know make me feel fulfilled. Well, also, I can do my grocery shopping and I get all my groceries all at once and I don't have to worry about like, oh, do I have this, this, and this? I know that I have it because I ordered it when I did my meal prep. It's something that allows me flexibility and freedom with my food. I can pick what I'm eating for all 3 meals every single day. I'm not restrictive with what I'm eating for those 3 meals, but it allows me to like have that structure that comes with food, because that's one of Like, that's been something that's been really beneficial for me when it comes to healing and fixing my relationship with my nutrition, is like having structure while also having freedom. I can pick whatever I want for the week, but I kind of stick to what that week is looking like. That's just one of the things that helps me. There's so many things that can help so many different people, and again, that's the hard part about nutrition and dieting and stuff. There is no one size fits all. Like, I can't sit here and tell you the exact way to fix or heal your relationship. I don't know. All I know is what works for me. All I know is what I've been told by professionals. And I don't know. Long story short, you deserve to feel fulfilled with what you're eating, and you also deserve the flexibility to not feel trapped by your food. You do not exist solely to eat. You do not exist solely to worry about your nutrition and your diet and what you're eating. You are so much more than that. And I don't know. I hope maybe you took something from this, or maybe, I don't know, something. I hope something clicked, something helped. Maybe this even just helped you recognize that you are falling into some disordered patterns that you want to catch before it gets bad. You know, whatever it is. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I appreciate you so much. This one was a heavy one, and next week we'll do a fun one, I promise. But I think this is just something that's so important to talk about, especially with the time of year it is. I find that people get a lot more restrictive and harsh with their nutrition around spring and summer, so I figured it was something important to talk about. But anyways, thank you so much for listening, guys. Go follow me on Instagram, hey from EBFit, Emily Brouillard. I'm on YouTube. If you don't know, I say it every week, and I'm going to continue to say it every week. But if you want to watch your podcasts, you can go watch it on YouTube. And yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys have an incredible week, and we'll chat next time.